There's something wrong with the living room floor. I noticed it the day I moved in, a slight bulge under the carpet near the center of the room, like someone had spilled something that dried into a hardened lump. The carpet was a bland gray, the kind you'd find in any cookie-cutter rental unit, and the bulge wasn't big enough to trip on. Still, it bothered me. At first, I told myself it was just uneven flooring. But by the end of that first week, I knew it wasn't. It moved. Not all at once, not violently, but subtly, imperceptibly. One day, it was a little closer to the coffee table. Another day, it was nearer to the TV stand. I even measured once. The bulge had traveled nearly an inch overnight. I live alone. No pets. No roommates. No kids. The apartment is on the top floor of a 3-story complex, tucked into a quiet suburb. Nothing about it felt unusual when I signed the lease, but now I wonder if the previous tenant saw it too. Or worse, knew what it was. The property manager, a middle-aged guy named Ron, gave me the keys with a cheerful "you'll love it here." I hadn't seen him since. At first, I tried to ignore the movement. I'd glance at the floor, blink, and convince myself I imagined it. But then came the sounds. Low creaks at night, like something shifting beneath the floorboards. I've lived in older buildings before. Floorboards creak. That's just how it is. But this wasn't the same. These creaks had a rhythm. 3 long groans. A pause. Then 2 shorter ones, like footsteps hesitating. One night, I pressed my ear to the carpet. The bulge was warm. The floor around it wasn't. I heard breathing. I know how that sounds. I know exactly how insane that sounds. But I swear to you, beneath the carpet, there was a slow, steady inhale and exhale, like someone, something, was lying just beneath, resting. I jerked back in horror and slept on the couch that night. The next morning, I peeled back the edge of the carpet. There was a small gap in the wood underneath, like a seam. I poked at it with a butter knife. The wood flexed, then snapped back into place like rubber. No splinters, no cracking. It wasn't wood. The material underneath the carpet looked like wood, even felt like it to the touch, but it gave slightly under pressure, like skin. Not flesh, exactly, but not solid. Something in between. I went straight to my laptop and searched the address. No reports of murders. No fires. No missing persons. But the tenant before me moved out after just 3 weeks. No explanation. No review. Just disappeared from the lease record. Ron never mentioned that. That night, I taped an X on the floor with blue painter's tape right over the bulge, just to see if it moved again. By morning, it was gone. Not shifted. Not shrunk. Gone. The bulge wasn't in the center anymore. It was under the couch. I dragged the couch aside, and sure enough, the lump was back. Larger now. It had grown several inches in diameter and was beginning to raise the carpet higher than before, like something was pushing upward from beneath. I bought a crowbar. Whatever this thing is, I need to see it. I waited until evening. The creaks had already started. The same 3 long groans, the pause, the 2 short ones. I turned off every light in the apartment and stood in the dark living room with just the crowbar and my phone flashlight. I pried at the edges. The carpet peeled back easily now, like it wanted to be removed. The layer beneath, the faux wood, skin-like surface, had veins. Blue and faint and pulsing. I dropped the crowbar and fell back, heart pounding. I could feel it watching me. Not with eyes. With awareness. The same way you feel someone staring at you from a window. Like you're a bug under glass. I slept in my car that night. And yet, when the sun rose, I went back in. Of course I did. It's my apartment. I pay rent. I should be safe in it. But that day, when I came inside, there was something new. A smell. Earthy. Damp. Like a cellar. Or a cave. And on the wall above the bulge, someone had scrawled something. Not with paint. With something darker. I leaned in. The writing was jagged, frantic. For words. "IT knows you're here." I scrubbed at the words with bleach and a sponge until my hands stung. They didn't come off. The wall just absorbed the liquid, the dark letters remaining like old scars. I even tried repainting it, but the message bled through the primer within hours. "It knows you're here." I told myself it was a prank, some sick joke from a previous tenant or a bored maintenance guy. But deep down, I didn't believe that. Not anymore. The bulge under the carpet was still growing. Every day, it moved closer to places I used often. The fridge, the bed, the shower. It was learning my habits. I stopped walking barefoot. I started sleeping with the lights on. But the worst came 3 nights later, when I heard something new. A whisper. Not words, just a breathy murmur, like a voice trying to speak through water. It came from under the carpet, from inside the floor. I froze, sitting upright on the couch, my neck prickling. My phone was on the table, but I didn't move to grab it. I just listened. The whispering stopped when I stood up. I left the apartment and didn't come back until morning. When I returned, something had changed again. Not the bulge. That was still in the corner, near the bookcase now. It was the mirror in the hallway. There was a smudge on it. A dark handprint. Long-fingered, wide-palmed, too large to be mine. It was on the inside of the glass. I tapped it. Solid. Real. I backed away. I called Ron, the property manager. He didn't pick up. I called again. Still no answer. In desperation, I went to his office in person. He wasn't there, but a teenage receptionist looked up at me with hollow eyes as I asked about the previous tenant. Oh, her, she said. I don't think she left. I think she disappeared. I asked what she meant, but she suddenly had to make a call and turned away from me without another word. I stood in the office for a full minute before walking out, the pit in my stomach twisting tighter. That night, I woke up to movement. Not mine. Not a dream. The sound of something sliding beneath the carpet, slow and deliberate, circling the couch where I slept. I held my breath and kept my eyes shut tight, fists clenched at my sides. The sound stopped directly in front of me. I didn't dare open my eyes. I don't know how long I laid there. Maybe an hour, maybe more, but eventually I heard it again, the sound of it receding, sliding back toward the hallway. Then nothing. I opened my eyes to darkness. And then, without thinking, I reached for my phone and turned on the flashlight. There were no footprints, no rips in the carpet, nothing disturbed, except the bulge. It was now right next to the couch, and something new was growing out of it. A slit, a long, thin opening like a mouth stitched closed. No lips, no teeth, just a gash in the fluid surface. It hadn't been there yesterday. I got on my knees and leaned closer. It pulsed, just slightly, like a heartbeat. And for a moment, I saw something inside. Just a flash. Wet. Pink. Moving. I stumbled backward and vomited into the kitchen sink. I wanted to leave. I almost did. My bag was packed. I had my keys in hand. But just as I reached the front door, my phone buzzed. A voicemail. Unknown number. I played it. The message was only 3 seconds long, but it made my blood run cold. It was a recording of me, whispering. But not a whisper I remembered. Not from any real moment. The voice was hoarse, frantic. And it said only this. Don't go. It gets worse if you go. I deleted the message and threw my phone across the room. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at the kitchen table with every light in the apartment turned on and a knife in my hand. The slit under the carpet opened a little wider. And sometime around 3 a.m., it made a sound. A clicking noise. Like fingernails tapping together. Soft. Repeating. Not random. Deliberate. Like it was calling something. Or waiting for an answer. By morning, the slit was gone. No trace of it. No cut in the carpet. No deformity in the fake wood. Just the bulge, slightly smaller now. Retreating, almost smug. I didn't go to work that day. I didn't shower. I sat in a hoodie up, clutching a cup of cold coffee and watching the center of the room like it might sprout claws. Sometime around noon, my doorbell rang. No one ever visits me unannounced. My chest seized. I opened the door with the chain still on. An old woman stood outside. Wispy white hair. Patchy red sweater. Eyes that didn't blink enough. You're the new tenant, she said. Not a question. Yeah, I replied. I used to live here. A long time ago. Her voice had the texture of gravel. Okay. She tilted her head. It's still under there? I stared at her. What? She motioned past me, toward the living room. Under the carpet. It still sleeps there? I didn't answer. She reached into her pocket and pulled out something wrapped in tissue. You'll need this, she muttered. Don't unwrap it till after dark. And don't feed it anything alive. That just makes it bold. I stepped back. What the hell is this? She didn't respond. Just turned and shuffled away down the hall. No name. No explanation. I closed the door and locked all 3 bolts. The wrapped object sat on my counter for hours. It felt warm through the paper. I didn't want to open it. But the moment dusk came, I felt compelled. I peeled the tissue away. It was a small disc, about the size of a quarter, made of dull, pitted metal. In the center was a carved symbol. 3 concentric circles, each one slightly warped, as if drawn by an unsteady hand. In the middle, a downward arrow, etched deep and dark. I didn't recognize the symbol, but when I held the disc near the bulge in the floor, it vibrated faintly. The room dimmed. Not the lights. The air. Shadows grew thicker. Corners deepened. And the air smelled. Rotting earth, wet concrete, iron. Then came the knock. From below. Not loud, but unmistakable. A single knock. Then silence. I backed away. The disc fell from my hand and landed on the carpet. Instantly, the bulge retracted several inches. That's when I realized the disc didn't just detect it. It repelled it. My chest swelled with adrenaline. I picked the disc back up and stepped forward, holding it low like a shield. The bulge slid again, back toward the hallway. I followed, each step making the air colder, heavier. Then, suddenly, the bulge froze. The floor beneath my feet twitched. A deep thump echoed under the boards, like a heartbeat, but slower, thicker. My hand started shaking. That's when I heard the whisper again, clearer this time. Not in English. It was some language I didn't understand. Harsh syllables, repeated over and over. But I recognized one word. A name. My name. It was saying my name. From under the floor. I dropped the disc again and ran to the bathroom, slamming the door behind me and locking it. I didn't leave that room until the sun was up. When I emerged, the disc was back on the kitchen table. The bulge was gone, but the carpet was wet. Not damp. Sodden. A dark, viscous fluid had soaked into the fibers, spreading in an irregular ring. No smell. No heat. Just wet. I called Ron again. This time he picked up. Listen, I said. I need someone to look at the floor. There's something. I told you not to go poking around, he interrupted. That froze me. You what? I left a note in the welcome packet. Said not to disturb the living room carpet. There was no note. A pause. Then, well, now you know. What is it? Another pause. Not my problem anymore. He hung up. I stared at the phone for a full minute before throwing it into the sink. The sun was still out. I could leave. I should have left. But I didn't. Something in me needed to understand. To find the truth beneath the carpet. That night, I placed the disc on the floor and surrounded it with candles. And for the first time since I moved in, the bulge didn't move. It waited. Like it was watching me, too. The candles burned low, casting long shadows that warped across the floor like tendrils. The disc sat at the center, unmoving, but humming softly, like something inside it was alive. I sat cross-legged a few feet away, breathing shallow, flashlight off, watching. At 2:13 a.m., the bulge returned. It didn't creep or glide this time. It pushed, forcing its way back into the room like something desperate to reclaim its territory. The carpet heaved. Floorboards strained. One of the candles snuffed out on its own, the flame extinguished by a breath I didn't hear. Then came the voice. Not a whisper this time. A voice. Clear. Dry. Ancient. You brought it back. My throat closed. I couldn't answer. You lit the path. The disc began to vibrate more violently, spinning in place despite lying flat on the carpet. I scrambled back against the wall, my legs numb. The slit returned. Not in the same place as before. Now, it opened just beside the disc. And something began to emerge. A finger. Gray. Jointed wrong. Too long. As it slid through the slit in the floor, the carpet didn't tear. It parted, like skin unzipping. The finger curled. Then another followed. Then a hand. I should have run. But I was paralyzed. By fear, by awe, by the terrible realization that this thing wasn't trying to escape. It was testing the air. Smelling. Feeling. Too bright, the voice muttered. Too soon. Not ripe. The hand retracted slowly. The slit closed. The bulge dissolved. The candles flickered and steadied. I didn't sleep. I didn't move. I stayed sitting until the sun bled through the blinds. Later that day, I returned to the leasing office. The same receptionist was there. I need to know what this place is, I demanded. What's under it? She looked up at me like I was already dead. Then she said something that chilled me more than anything I'd heard in that apartment. Don't you feel it? Feel what? She leaned forward. The house choosing. I didn't understand. She slid a file folder across the desk. Inside, leases. Names. Dates. Every tenant in Unit 3C had stayed less than a month. Some moved. Some disappeared. One was marked, presumed deceased, no body. I flipped the pages until I reached mine. My file had already been updated. Fourth stage active. Vocal contact established. Pathway opened. I looked up. What does this mean? She didn't answer. I left the building shaking. Back in the apartment, I searched the place from top to bottom. I pulled furniture apart, emptied drawers, checked the attic hatch, unscrewed vents. Nothing. Nothing but walls and pipes in the sense that I was being watched. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't anxiety. It was the truth. That night, I opened the carpet fully. I peeled it back like old wallpaper, section by section. The surface beneath was no longer uniform. The faux wood was changing. It had texture now. Flesh-like ridges. Spiraling grooves. Hair-thin cracks that wept clear fluid when touched. And then I found it, the symbol, etched into the floorboards, the same as on the disc. 3 warped circles. A downward arrow. But around it were new marks, freshly carved. Like a tally. 7 lines. 1 crossed out. The carpet twitched. I dropped the disc again. It began to glow faintly, like metal catching moonlight. The humming returned. From the hallway, I heard a sound that still haunts me. My own voice. Calling my name. Softly. Urgently. Come see it now. It's ready. I didn't move. The voice called again. You've already been counted. Then the light bulbs burst, one by one, across the apartment. Glass rained down in glittering silence. Darkness swept in like a tide. And the bulge returned. Bigger than ever. I didn't run. I don't know why. Maybe it was fear. Maybe it was fascination. Maybe it was the sick gravity of the thing beneath me. The feeling that, even if I ran, it would still be there, waiting, under every floor I ever stepped on again. The bulge swelled across the living room like a tumor coming to term. The air thickened with that same damp, cellar-like stink. The disc pulsed dimly in my palm. Then I heard something new. Footsteps. Not from the hall, not from outside. From underneath. Heavy, slow. Pacing. Back and forth beneath the floorboards, directly beneath me. Then it stopped. Right under my feet. The voice returned. This time not whispered, not distant. It spoke through the floor. You've seen the skin. Now see the mouth. The floor opened. I'm not talking about a trapdoor or a crack. It peeled. The boards folded back like petals, revealing not a crawl space or pipes, but a tunnel. A dark, fleshy tunnel lined with bone-white ridges and veins that pulsed in sync with my own heartbeat. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Then something rose from within. It wasn't human. And yet, it had been. The shape was there. Limbs. A torso. A face. But it was wrong. Distorted. Asymmetrical. The arms too long. The mouth too wide. The eyes sewn shut with threads that shimmered like spider silk. It crawled from the hole like a newborn. And it smiled, or tried to. Not at me. Behind me. I turned. The carpet across the room was rising again. Another bulge. Then another. Then another. The floor heaved in multiple places now, like the building was pregnant with things that had waited too long. The creature spoke without moving its mouth. Its voice was in my head. We wait. We remember. We reach. You woke the others. It raised a hand. At its center, where a palm should have been, was a mouth. A perfect replica of my own. It opened. And it screamed. No sound came out, but every light in the apartment shattered. The air vanished from the room. I collapsed, clutching my chest, my vision tunneling into darkness. Then, silence. I woke on the couch. Sunlight streamed in. The carpet was flat. The floor unbroken. The disc gone. For a long time, I thought I'd hallucinated the whole thing. That some gas leak, some trauma, some mental break had conjured it all. I almost moved out. But then I noticed the wall again. The writing had returned. Only this time, it wasn't the same message. For new words, carved in jagged script. You're one of us. And below it, a tally mark. 8 lines. 2 crossed out. I'm still here. The carpet's flat now. No bulges. No whispers. No more voices in the walls. But I can't leave. I tried once. Got in the car, drove 5 hours. I woke up in my bed the next morning. Keys in my pocket. And the disc, lying beside me on the pillow. If you ever move into an apartment with a bulge under the carpet, don't ignore it. Don't investigate. Because it's not a flaw in the floor. It's a door. And it already knows your name.